talking to him, and I usually make sure I can see what's happening. Good to hear of Luke. Good job. There we are. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we are live streaming. Awesome.
Welcome, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. It's 12:08 p.m. I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land in which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawatang. Bawatang is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. The next item on our agenda is to adopt the minutes of our last meeting, which were on February 6th. Could I have a mover and seconder, please, for adoption of those minutes? Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, Sean. Any additions, deletions, changes in those minutes as they've been included in our agenda package? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of those minutes? Thank you, that's carried. For anyone today, is there a declaration of pecuniary interest? I think, Alicia, we have some to carry forward from previous meetings.
I do, and I'm so sorry about that. We're looking at item 5.11 for Niall Moss, Sioux Society, and as well as 5.22, which is Dustin Heishi 4x3. And we're also looking at item 5.13, the club and Lee Brendel. I don't believe there are any further. And Miranda, of course, will be recusing herself
from everything. And I believe the club, has the club been, I just want to remind myself, has the club been removed from our list?
We've removed them from the list. They've maintained them in the agenda just for.
Of course, but just for, I just wanted to clarify for Lee's purposes. So, yes. Okay, so any new declarations? Seeing none. All right, so we have adoption of our agenda today. Could I have someone to move into second adoption of today's agenda? Thank you, Lee, and thank you, Miranda. Any additions or deletions or changes to our agenda today? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of today's agenda? That is carried. I'm assuming Lee is not in favor. I'm not seeing Lee's. Thank you. All right. So the item for our agenda today is to ideally complete the review of the early intake 2025 ACAP applications and decide on awards of the grants that are available to us in this round of $85,000. That's correct, Alicia? That's the correct amount?
That's correct.
All right. So Sean is graciously, as he offered to do, keeping track of our spreadsheet that we've been working with. And it's through him that you're seeing that display on your screen. What we did the last time, just to summarize, we reviewed each grouping of grants in terms of any comments or questions that anyone wanted to make as part of the record at this meeting. And we did the small project grant application section. We did the cultural diversity grant applicants. We did the large project applicants. We did the multi-stream applicants. And from those, we had a couple of changes, which were that the club was removed from this list, and Alicia will speak with them about applying in the next round. The Waterloo Region Grassroots Response was also removed for concern about, I want to make sure I say this right, qualification, I guess, is that correct? Okay. We have had one small change or a change in the category for Bawatang Babes and Two Spirit Organizing around their non-qualification for major cultural event, right? And they still, I can't see it on my paper that I printed out, they still do qualify in 2 other categories.
They do.
Yeah, yes. All right, so, unless somebody wants to say anything with regards to what I just mentioned, or anything on any of those others that we've already covered, then I think we need to, ask Miranda to step out.
There's one thing,
Oh.
well, Miranda can stay or go for
Oh,
this one,
okay.
it doesn't matter, but I wanted to do this in the open air,
Great.
just because Alicia corrected me about the amounts for the other streams. So I just wanted to correct that for
Okay.
the water babes, it is still to the 20,000.
Right,
So the reclassification didn't really impact the eligibility amount,
right,
but that's
but just for clarity, for, you know, for future applicants or whatever, just making sure. And the reason why I didn't change the amount is because we don't have a cap on, which is the category again?
Cultural diversity.
Cultural diversity, it does not have a cap. So they've applied in cultural diversity and, I forget the other category right now.
We can actually see it if you want me to go over, Sean, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, you have to move the. column,
You just
unfortunately.
have to expand the column, that's all.
Column E,
Oh, yes, I see, sorry.
sorry, no, I'm okay.
There we go, community events, okay, all right. Okay,
So I'm going to put Miranda in a waiting room, that's okay?
yep,
Thank you so much, we will call you back. And she's gone.
okay, excellent. So let's move on now to the operating seed grant applicants. So we have 5 there. We have 4, I'm sorry, we have 4 that have qualified above the threshold that was set. The threshold is 11. So in the scoring, you'll note that application 17, Sioux Theater Workshop, did not score at the minimum. So we have 4 remaining applicants in that category. And any questions? Comments about that category? Any of the remaining applicants in that category?
Just to say that these are, like many of the others that we've seen, very strong applications, it's an undesirable task. Having to whittle these down.
Well, it's what we signed up for,
It is.
so we will do what we signed up for. As difficult as it is, and it is difficult. So it would be great if we had, sorry, I'm trying to find, why do I always have so much trouble with this? I should have found it before. I'm trying to find this grouping of applications, which will be on the agenda online, right?
Yes.
Okay, can somebody just give me a minute to?
If you want to, I can discuss strategies that we've done in the past,
That'd be great.
while you're doing that,
Around,
around whittling down our.
oh, okay, so, yes, so I'm not hearing any questions about any of these, but I just wanna pull this up, so let's talk about that, please do, Sean.
Sure.
We have, I don't, whatever the, 122,000 approximately dollars of request, now that the changes have been made, and we have $85,000 in funding to distribute.
So our previous strategies have been diverse, and there's no one. Basically, it's at the committee's discretion, what strategy you think is most appropriate for the pool of applicants in any given term. What we have seen in the past is either adding a cap. In previous years, that's been as low as $5,000, which is, I think, speaks more to the dearth of funding that we had previously. Looking at the amounts that we have, yes, we have to whittle down, but I don't think that we'll have to go that extreme this year. The if we take that route. Alternatively, we have raised the minimum threshold. So that will remove some of the applicants from consideration. We have also adjusted scores proportionally, right? So in other proportions, I should say, where right now we give the same percentage of their ask that we that they scored in their overall potential score. Previously, we've said, okay, anything that isn't a small grant, if it's below a certain point threshold, then we'll subtract another 10%, or we'll subtract another 15% until we get to that amount that we actually have to distribute. So so in summation, there's strategies of increasing the minimum, setting a cap, and then additional proportional decreases. At least that's what we've come up with in the past. It's not to tie us if anybody has any creative ideas this time.
I think for discussion, if you mind me saying, I think through discussion that we've had previously and leading up to this in our meetings. I think we've kind of applied the threshold already. I wonder if proportional funding for each of these would be the way to go. Just because all the applications are worthy, they're all valuable, they all contribute significantly. Is that something that people would like, or do we want to talk about caps for certain funding? That's kind of how I see this going today, but I mean, it's up to the committee, of course.
I just want to tell Lee what I was doing when I got up. I just took those 3 points that Sean made and I wrote them on the flip chart that's in this room so that I could look, I just like looking at them like that. It reminds me of what you said. So, it was those 3 things that he mentioned that are just written on the screen, on the board there. I also know that we have had discussions as well with regards to, when we apply proportional funding or cap or within the small project category, that it becomes very, it can significantly reduce the amount that those small projects get, which is already small to begin with and might be, could be crucial to their ability to deliver on their idea. That's another thing to think about.
I have a proposal if nobody else wants to take the floor.
The floor is yours.
Okay. I would say, why don't we start with applying a $15,000 cap? Just like.
Go from.
Because right now we have a couple projects that exceed that.
Yeah.
Not by a lot, but enough that it saves. That saves, but it
Okay, so.
will reduce the proportional amount that we have.
So if we make that, Lee, did you have a comment on that? If we try this and just sort of see how it affects our sum that's being asked for?
Yeah, I think that will take roughly $5,000 off the top.
Yeah, I think it'll take a little, I think it'll take a little more. Okay, there, Sean's doing it this way. Okay, that's great.
Are we applying that $15,000 cap to all categories?
Something happened there, Sean. There's a formula in that cell that's not, it's saying 500,000.
Oh geez, yeah, sorry. Yeah, oopsie, there is a formula that is not meant to be there, sorry.
Yeah, it did like an addition drag and drop.
Yeah, I
rather
copied
than
the
a copy and
formula,
paste.
not the amount, sorry.
I think, wait, as a side note, I don't know that I need to talk right now, maybe I'll just stop.
Well, let's just give Sean a second. If you don't want to say anything, Alicia, or you want to hold on, let's just give Sean a minute to get his numbers in there. And let's see where that brings us.
Yes.
I guess the other thing, before you do that,
I mean, I can continue doing it because this is
okay,
just. an
you're just gonna
option.
keep making
Yeah.
columns, all right, yes, exactly, God, I love spreadsheets. I do, I love spreadsheets.
I love someone who does them better than I do, so. Yeah, just looking at this, like I said, what we've done in the past with the small project grants in particular is we kept them relatively consistent with their asks or near, that's, I think that is effective. I struggle because I don't wanna say too much, but I do think that's an effective way to review this, and I think that's been good in years past.
And that brings us to 111,300.
Okay. So. That's a cap of 15.
That's right.
So what if we reduce the cap? Apply the same principle. And reduce the cap to, you could try 10. Or whatever other number we wanted to go, like down by $2,500 increments or something, 12 and a half.
With respect to the operating grants, those ones will be the ones that are most
Yeah.
actually affected by that.
Yeah, I just not
Yeah.
smart enough right now to do the math that quickly in my head to see how much that would reduce.
Also same. Sorry.
That brings us to 88,410.
That's
Okay,
nice.
Now that would pretty much put us at the 50% mark for the funding, correct?
That's very close, yes.
oh, you mean of what was originally asked for? Or,
Know that we
Of
have,
the approved ACAP funds, like if we're intending to
Oh.
award 50% at early intake and 50%
Yes.
late intake.
yes. So $9,500? Is that right?
Sure,
I don't know,
let's give it a go, yeah.
we need to find $3,000, if it's as simple as this, by putting a cap. I want to look at it though closely and see. Because that cap will mean,
well, I went just looking here proportionally at the Algoma Conservatory of Music, they've scored 13.5. They've asked for 22,000. Their ask is significantly greater. They're one of the top 2 scorers in that category. Should we be applying? Like maybe a greater cap?
well, this
to
is
that?
why,
Yeah.
this is why I'm asking the question, well, I don't know if it's specific to what you just said. But why I'm asking the question is that cap of 9,500 or whatever it may end up being
Mhm.
significantly affects certain people
More.
much more than others,
Thank you,
right?
sorry, yes,
I think that's where I was going with that.
yes.
So if you ask for 10 and you get 9,500, you've lost 500. If you ask for 20 and you get 9,500, you got, right? So I just wanna,
Right,
let's think about that.
Mhm.
I just need to get a little closer. My face is really strange.
So that does bring us to $85,491.18.
Are you able to hide, like I'd like
Oh,
to,
hide the green ones?
well, yeah, we could hide the green ones, that'd be good, but also. Could we now, so if we go. I just want to see the person on the far side.
Yes, sorry.
So can we, is there anything we can hide so that we can. See. Like, oh, there we go, that's what I wanted to see, okay. So now we can see. The applicant, we can see on the screen their average score. We can see what proportional funding results in at $122,000. Remembering we have 85, we've applied a 15 cap, a 10,000 cap, and now a 9,500 cap, which gets us where we need to be. However, should we be having a discussion about the, is that reasonable? Is that reasonable based on? Is there a reason to put up birds? I mean, goodness, I'm cameras. So here we're fine, right? Here we're fine. I'm wondering in this section here of these larger numbers, can we apply that as, if it's even relevant, just thinking of ideas here. Apply a percentage of the original ask, like they're gonna get 50% of what they asked for, or 20% of what they asked for, or whatever. Is it even a relevant consideration?
I think it's all relevant. I think it's absolutely relevant because it brings into question viability of what they are proposing. Any time in this sort of situation, especially with operating funding, if you're not giving what they're asking, you're sort of crossing your fingers that they have some plan B. But that's all we can do is cross our fingers. So we are threatening viability if we scale back significantly for a number of the applicants. Even in terms of the question of raising a threshold, I mean, where would you raise it? Like,
The numbers are
the
high.
lowest number is 11.4.
Well, and in this section, which is where the bulk of the funding is for the reasons that of these categories. The lowest score is 12.9, so
Yeah.
call it 13.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly, and I don't know that there's only one applicant that has higher than two applicants that. Well, actually, sorry, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 applicants.
I hate to ask, well, no, they're so high though, the thing is, I'm looking at the House of Core. Because their ask was significantly lower than some of the operating fund requests. What was their original ask? Do you remember? Oh, sorry, I can look.
Oh,
Sorry, my bad. Their original
I
ask was
believe it was 10.
yeah, 10,940, I think was the initial request.
So in this particular case, and this is what I was speaking to earlier, if we were to approve or recommend, let me be clear, we were to recommend this configuration, they would be receiving almost 100% of what they asked for.
Right.
And with that in mind, that's great. But and they scored a 13.6, so they're very high up there as well.
What if? And cut me off if I'm speaking out of turn. What if we had, this cap for all of the, sorry, I'm just realizing that my proposal didn't make sense.
Can I make
Go
a
ahead.
slight recommendation?
Yeah.
What if, I think just for comparison's sake, not to necessarily go down this route, I'm wondering if you can take that proportional funding column and multiply all of the projects. I mean, if we're being universal about it, if you multiplied all the projects by say 80% or 75% to see if after the weighted proportional funding amount and the requested amount, we give everyone 80% that met that criteria. I wonder if that would bring us roughly to where we need to go.
Including the small projects?
I mean, if we're applying it universally, that would be fair. I'm hesitant to do that because it's the big projects that are really going to make or break it, and piddling over a few $100s on a $2,000 project feels a little silly.
I could do both, like we can compare them.
Okay, so let's give Sean a minute to do some math here.
that. So appreciate you.
So with the 80% reduction, sorry, not 80%, 20% reduction to 80% of the proportional funding, across the board, that brings us to 97,000. For excluding small projects, then we're at 101,000.
Yeah, so the manipulating the small projects really doesn't get us close to where we need to go if we're. But if we are to take that same concept and say do, I mean, just looking at the ratio, we'd have to do like 70% across the board on the major projects, probably to bring us to that 85 number.
And that's excluding small projects?
I would think so, just because it's really not impacting that bottom line number
Yeah.
in a reasonable way. And we're talking about the feasibility, the smaller the project, when you take out money, it does affect feasibility on smaller projects.
That does bring us to 90,792. That's
So we're closer.
close.
So could we take those numbers and look at the cap then? Because now at least it's proportional and relative. Like, I don't know if that helps
So now
anything.
they're all under 15,000.
Well, okay, so to Lee's point, so now if we take those numbers and we, like, we're 5,000, 6,000, call it in round numbers. We're $6,000 above where we need to be. So do we? What do I want to say now? $6,000 on $90,000 is around 5%, right? Right, it's a little higher than that. So I guess we could simply go to 65%. Do you want to try that?
Absolutely. Sorry, I don't mean to speak out of turn here, Leah.
No, I think that's a great plan. Just if that's what we're worried about, I think that's a fair way of applying the impact kind of universally among everyone that we thought met the minimum criteria.
85,500.
Can we slightly exceed 85? Like, or are we a cap 85?
I think we're cap 85
Okay,
for the
okay,
guidelines, but
Okay, that's okay, that's okay. So now we have $500 that we have to find, and $500. So do you want to put 64, where are we? 64%?
How about if I even do 64.5? Let's see if that gets us.
We're the definition of splitting hairs right now.
Hey, 84,983.
alright,
Whoa!
and so then we just allocate the remainders.
So,
Change.
or it's $17, like,
Yeah, let's give it to somebody.
well,
But yes,
okay, so is that 64.5? For the
It
top?
is 64.5.
No, but just change the
Oh,
top,
yes,
just in
sorry,
case
yeah.
anyone is watching us, we just wanna be super clear what we've done here.
Yes.
So that it's transparent,
Mhm.
so. How do we feel about this? So that leaves the small project grants fairly close to the $3,000 or $2,900 cap. Then the rest have been applied proportionally. Now, let me clarify one thing. The proportion was after a cap, or it was proportion based on, it's on this column, right? It's based on that
Right,
column,
it's
not
basically,
after
so
a
there's no
cap.
cap.
So there's no cap in this particular case.
We can hide these.
We didn't change the minimum score, but we applied proportionally a maximum amount to get to what we had available to distribute, which is where our numbers sit here now. So we've got the group at the top, $1,600 for with Sioux Blues, $6,400 House of Gore, and etc. Going down the columns here.
So, what we have left over is $16.97. So there is one, well, I'm gonna make two suggested options, but of course, there's a million options, but one way to do it is either give it to the highest ranking, highest scoring applicant. Another is who got the least amount of funding. Because I mean, looking
I
at,
think the $16 would mean the most to the person with the least amount of funding.
I
would
agree
make
with
the most
Lee.
sense.
I agree with you.
I'm inclined to agree with that, and that looks like the Sioux Blues Society.
Yeah,
So if we add that
$16.71
7,
or 79, yeah. There we go.
and that brings us to 85,000 even.
Okay. Before we start to vote and to like review and recommend, does anybody have any further questions, or are we feeling satisfied?
I think we're feeling satisfied, but I think the mathematical gymnastics that we've had to undergo these last few review sessions is going to really strengthen why we need to discuss at the cultural forum, possibly adjusting how we take these applications, because there's just so many, and there's so many great ones and viable ones that we're for the next not obviously late intake, but for the next round after late intake, we might want to look at adjusting some of this a little bit.
I'm going to take a picture and then I'm going to have you write, well, you're gonna read to me the names of the people and then amounts, and then we'll talk about resolution.
That sounds good.
Okay,
And I completely agree with you, Lee. I think this is I mean, I know there's not that many people that watch these proceedings, but hello to those of you who do. But I think it's really important for people to understand just what goes into distributing these funds and what the need in our community versus what the resources that we have is.
yeah, and while we're very grateful that the leaders in Sault Ste. Marie saw fit to increase the amount of funding in this last budget that goes to our arts and culture, very important. We've made a lot of progress in that in the last 5 years. It's clear that the community is doing great things with it, and because they know this funding is available, they're planning new great things and so on. So we will keep being relevant and showing the value to the community and to the economy, etc. With regards to arts and culture and homegrown projects. These are all homegrown. They're happening here in Sault Ste. Marie with Sault Ste. Marie people. And people in our area, very close to Sault Ste. Marie, so this is good. And for the record, I feel really good about this decision. To me, it's fair. You know, I certainly hope that all of these organizations and entities will have a great opportunity to pursue what they want to bring to the community in terms of arts and culture.
Take forever, I'm sorry. I think we can actually do this all in one resolution today, which is rare for us.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm running out of room on my folder actually, because of that.
Final call, just to make sure I didn't make any mistakes about hiding anything.
I need you to read the amounts,
Absolutely.
and then we're gonna hear it all again, I think, for the resolution. Sorry about this. Okay, so I'm looking for item 5.7, Rebecca Heron.
$2,526.82.
Okay, and DJC 5.3.
$2,510.16.
Okay, Sarah Skagen.
$2,494.50.
Okay, and we're looking for Joseph Schlafly.
$2,376.87.
Okay, Michael Nathan.
$2,369.21.
Okay, Algoma Writers Collective.
$2,293.57.
Okay, Tanya Dival.
$2,279.24.
Sioux Blues Society.
$1,677.29.
Excellent. Sioux Symphony Orchestra.
$5,848.
Even.
Mhm.
Okay, Algoma Conservatory of Music.
$12,771. Even.
171. Okay, sorry.
Um,
All right, and then piecing it together shows.
$9,829.12.
I don't know what happened to my brain. 9,829 and
And 12 cents.
12 cents. Sorry about that. Something I took a walk.
Okay,
Okay, sorry. Thinking Rock Community Arts, please.
$8,320.50.
Cents. Okay. Black Fly Jam.
$11,266 even.
Perfect. And the Blotting Babes Two Spirit Organizing Committee.
$12,040 even.
Okay,
I think you missed House of Gore.
thank you so much. Which number are they? That was between
12,
12.
512.
Okay, but we're after. Sorry. Thank you so much for the catch.
No problem.
Support and the number on that, please.
$6,397.71.
Okay, so I have a resolution here. Ready to go.
Mhm.
Great, so I will read it and then you will make that happen.
Then we will ask for a mover and a seconder, and then we will go from there.
Perfect, okay. So forgive me, resolved that the Cultural Vitality Committee recommend to City Council the following grants for the 2025 Arts and Culture Assistance Program early intake as follows. Rebecca 5.7, Rebecca Heron for $2,526.82. 5.3, DJ Seath, $2,510.16. 5.8, Sarah Skagen, $2,494.50. Item 5.5, Joseph Schlapsy, $2,376.87. 5.6, Michael Nathan, $2,369.21. 5.1, Algoma Writers Collective, $2,293.57. 5.10, Tanya Daigle, $2,279.24. 5.12, House of Gore, $6,397.71. Item 5.11, Sioux Blues Society, $1,677.29. Item 5.15, Sioux Symphony Orchestra, $5,848 even. Item 5.14, Algoma Conservatory of Music, $12,771. Item 5.16, piecing it together shows $9,829.12. 5.18, Thinking Rock Community Arts, $8,320.50. 5.19, Black Fly Jam, $11,266. And item 5.21, Blotting Babes and Two Spirited Organizing Committee, $12,040 even.
Okay, so we need a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Sean to move. Thank you, Lee to second. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor of approval as read, that is carried. Thank you.
Congratulations to our early intake recipients.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. Is there anything on the subcommittee or task force? So there's nothing on this list. There's nothing.
Nothing
Okay.
at this time.
Anything for new business? We didn't have anything today. Whoopsie. Reading the minutes. Sorry. Yes. Oh, and no correspondence.
No correspondence.
Okay. Our next meeting,
Next meeting, that will be following our regular schedule, just the third Wednesday in March at 4:30.
which is already in the calendar.
I believe
correct?
so. I will double check and make sure that everyone has it today. Moving
Yes,
forward.
I have it as March 19th at 4:30.
Thank you very much for pulling the date.
Yeah.
And just other quick reminders, just
Yeah.
in that we're having the cultural forum next week, February 26th at the Irwin Air Clerk National Historic Site. Invitations have gone out. We're looking forward to discussions that will be had there.
you have posters that we can put up or something?
I can absolutely do that for you.
So
Yes.
I'll put some up at the places I go.
Fantastic, thank you.
And perhaps we could just also remind is it appropriate to remind that ourselves, but also if for anyone listening, the second intake for the cultural grants, where I think we refer to it as late intake. The due date is the last Friday in March. Am I correct about that?
That's
So
correct.
the last Friday in March is March 28th.
So we're planning to have the release of the opening of the second intake immediately following the cultural forum, so we're planning that for February 27th.
Okay,
But of course, if anybody's looking for information, they're always welcome to contact me and we'll work together in the meantime.
right,
So,
right, there's no,
Yeah.
it's okay. Okay. All right, we've reached the end of our agenda, so I will ask for a mover and a seconder. Oh, do we need to bring Miranda back?
I can bring Miranda back, let's
Bring
bring it.
Miranda
Thank you
back.
for that, let's find her. I thought she was here. Participants, that's what I was looking for, my fault, apologies. Okay, admit.
Actually, we should have done that before we got to the other things.
We can have an open floor. if that's it.
Hi Miranda, welcome back.
Hi, Miranda. My apologies, carried after we have now, made a decision on the awards for the grants, so that item was done. And then without thinking, I did not say we need to bring Miranda back, so we did cover, was really nothing to cover. There was no correspondence or new business. We talked about the fact that our next meeting is March 19th at 4:30. Alicia reminded us all of the cultural forum on February 26th and the fact that the second intake for the cultural grants is due on the last Friday of March, which is March 28th. Is there anything that you wanted to bring forward or include before we adjourn?
Not that I can think of. Thanks for asking.
Okay, excellent. All right, so could I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Miranda. All in favor? That is carried. So resolved that this committee now adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in a few weeks.